thank you very much for your time. Obviously, you've been keeping a close eye on what is developing in the Northwest. And I don't know your view as a political analyst. Are you surprised at all by what we're seeing in terms of the continued squabbles, the urgent court applications, the latest one now by Supra Mahumapelo and his supporters? Does this surprise you at all, or were you expecting some kind of disarray to happen, particularly because this particular province has been unable to convene the conference more than 3 times now?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's actually not surprising, by the way, and good morning and thank you to your viewers. It's actually not surprising. In fact, I was quite nervous when I learned that they were actually convening this weekend. And I think, even those today who have decided to take, to nullify, the conference by taking it through the judicial system is actually, are leveraging in particularly on the outcome of the previous court announcement, which actually nullifies the role of the IPC. But also broadly, those who are also even taking, the conference to court for nullification is that they actually understand internal organizational crisis that the ANC is confronted with. So they actually know that they have a very strong legal strategy to support their argument. So in essence, I do think that it was an oversight both for the team that has been deployed in the province and as well as the NEC to actually, just deal with the basic issues. I mean, the first one is that the interim committee should have long either been, replaced with another team, because also the risk about having a team, an interim team that stays long, overseeing the smoothing out of political differences, etc., is that it does get subjective, but also at the same time, it gets so much involved into local politics. So in essence, their objectivity is always going to be questionable, which in fact, that's what the team that is led by Comrade Supra Mahumapelo is actually doing, that is actually sending a message that keeping interim teams to oversee a province for this long is actually not good, but also it means that the credibility of those teams will always be questionable. And that's exactly what is happening right now.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the biggest things that to take into consideration here is that particular time frame in which the IPC was supposed to be in power, 9 months maximum. That went into 3 years. So there are a lot of arguments about that and really the role or the lack of the role that the NEC played to make sure there was proper oversight here. But taking that into account and the argument that Supra Mahumapelo has put forward, do you think he has a leg to stand on? Is it possible that the conference and whatever outcomes can be nullified?
Well, I think for me, actually, I'm really not going to use the legal, argument because I'm not a lawyer. But I think, as I said earlier, he is leveraging on his understanding of the internal instability, but also the fact that the outcome for the disbandment, the outcome of the, judicial process was actually in his favor. But by the way, for me, what actually this issue puts into sub-question is the fact that, by the way, we've known that Supra has been at the helm of the ANC for several years, including the provincial government. We've seen, for example, the deterioration of the state of Northwest, both in terms of its GDP output, but also the poverty levels. I mean, as I was, part of the data I do is to read, and look at the unemployment data. I mean, it's sitting at about between above 40% for Northwest. And obviously, the COVID has actually even amplified both the economic and social crisis that Northwest is actually confronted with. If you go, for example, to communities like Marikana, if you go into Rustenburg, some of them who relied on the, mining, actually are becoming ghost towns. Now, in essence, for me, I would think that the ANC would have had a discussion and say, Comrade Supra, we had given you an opportunity to lead this province, right? And we've not seen actually the results that we're expecting, which amongst those, building a vibrant province where you deal with poverty, unemployment, social inequality, integration of young people, and Black women within the economy. Even though at that time you've had a lot of, mining resources, under your watch. Now, we've had COVID, for instance, and mining sector has been the hardest hit, even though, certain commodities have actually recovered. But I'm not convinced that Comrade Super is going to give praise and any fresh perspective for the Northwest Province. And the sad thing with actually, when I read the Deputy President's speech yesterday, I mean, he's calling for unity. And I mean, you could tell, some of the issues that he's raising. He's actually saying that, outside of these walls, when we have squabbles and bickering with each other, citizens of Northwest are looking for a much more better perspective, but also they're looking for a robust leadership that is going to actually make sure it lifts them out of poverty. Now, obviously, this type of legal action is in contrast with the call that the Deputy President has made, because it means that, in fact, there is no coherent thinking or no convergence in as far as what is it that we need to do as the Northwest leadership. Firstly, unify as the ANC, but also at the same time, build confidence that we're capable of lifting those who are trapped in poverty, out of the scourge of poverty, unemployment and social inequality, support women's businesses, small, medium enterprises, etc. So in essence, for me, I do think that the focus is still so internal, and as long as the ANC most of the time prioritizing internal squabbles for, based on subjective leadership interest, is that actually they continue to lose, the South African public, but also it means that they are disconnected to their primary constituency.
Very interesting insights. I really wish we had time to reflect more on Deputy President Mabuza's speech that he gave, because it was very scathing. And he said for the first time, it's become clear that the future of the ANC in South Africa is very uncertain. And of course, wanted to ask a question around it being a little bit too late for him to be recognizing that. But we'll catch up at another time, Pheli Sankomo. These are very important conversations which we will continue to have as the conference gets underway in the Northwest.